Good morning, everyone. This is Caird Rexroad, National Program Leader for Aquaculture at USDA-ARS. Thank you for joining our webinar this morning, Aquaculture is Agriculture, USDA's role in supporting farmers of fish, shellfish, and aquatic plants. Okay, everyone. Good morning. We've got around 150 participants so far this morning. So I want to thank everybody for joining us for our Aquaculture is Agriculture webinar. We're very excited to get this workshop underway. We know that aquaculture is agriculture among many other things. At USDA, our primary focus is on food and fiber. And so that's kind of the approach that we've taken to this webinar. And so, as you know, we've had a series of 6 listening sessions that have kind of shaped the way we have developed this webinar. And so we thank you for everyone who participated in those listening sessions and also for joining us today on the webinar. So Peggy, if I could get the next slide, please. So before we begin, I want to make sure to thank our organizing committee. We had folks from the USDA Working Group on Aquaculture and also the Office of the Chief Scientist. As we thought about what we needed for this webinar, we have a need to align aquaculture with some of the recent publications that have come out of USDA and the USDA Blueprint on Science and the the Agriculture Innovation Agenda. And so knowing that we wanted to have those as kind of themes for this workshop, but also wanting to make sure that we had a workshop that was relevant for the industry. So we invited some folks to join us on the organized committee, Paul Zajac, Dan Northrup, George Chamberlain, Chad Causey. We very much appreciate the input they give us in helping organize a federal session. So thank you. So next slide, please. And so what we have today as an agenda, we have only the one main session that we'll be streaming. And so we have some flexibility in our time, but we'll do our best to stick to this format, starting with some opening remarks, hearing from USDA leadership, and then moving on to some plenary sessions, more information on some of the strategic planning that's being done around aquaculture at USDA, things that we're participating in, and then also hearing from the industry. We wanted to be sure to identify ways that aquaculture is intersecting with agriculture, hearing from folks on seaweeds, finfish, and shellfish. Next slide, please. And then finally, moving on to the breakout sessions. So this is where the session chairs who led all of the different sessions over the month of November will tell us what they heard from all of you, kind of a 10-minute synthesis. And so we'll be wrapping up with that. And of course, as we've mentioned over the month of November, this will all lead to a publication that we'll put together early in 2021. So next slide, please. So aquaculture is agriculture. This is where we'll kick off and get started. Just a few ground rules. Should you have any questions, please go ahead and put those into the question and answer function. We will try to get to those. If not, we will follow up after the webinar to provide you an answer. Given the virtual format, we have not put in breaks, but we certainly understand that folks need to step away for a time, so please feel free to do that. And with that, I think we'll get started. So next slide, please. So first, I want to introduce Mary Dee Beal. She is a senior advisor to the Secretary and leads a working group on aquaculture. So Mary Dee, please go ahead.
Thanks, Caird, and thank you all for joining today and letting me join very quickly on the call. I appreciate you, the work that's gone into putting this together, Caird and Peggy and your team and all the folks joining. This is an important issue, and this has been quite an interesting year for the workspace for aquaculture at the Department of Agriculture. When I came into the department, there were some ongoing conversations about the possibility of the executive order that ended up being released later this year. And in trying to understand the issue better, I quickly sort of learned and understood that the issue of aquaculture is one that is cross-cutting across the department. It doesn't have a singular home. We have there's equities across USDA's 29 agencies and offices and expertise in a lot of them. And we realized that while we had a lot of that expertise in cross-cutting program engagement, we didn't have a singular entity. I like to call it a one front door for our stakeholders and our customers to understand all those all those pieces. So USDA has stood up a working group on aquaculture over the last year and a half or so. I think it's been a very effective group led by Caird, who spoke previously, and Jeff Silverstein from the Agriculture Research Service. This group has representatives from across the department, across the many different programs and functions that stakeholders in the aquaculture community and might want to engage with the department. And it's been a very effective group, including helping to implement USDA's responsibilities in the executive order that was issued, I think, in May of this year, including input to revisions to the aquaculture development plan and to the aquatic animal health plan. And there's continued opportunities there. This group was also instrumental as the department grappled with coronavirus and relief to the agriculture community, which included the aquaculture community, and was instrumental in providing insights and information and working closely with NOAA as the CFAP programs 1 and 2 were formulated and really taking into account the impacts to the aquaculture industry. And then lastly, the work that folks have done putting together these listening sessions and then this event today, really trying to make sure that, again, the expertise that the department has there's easy connectivity with our stakeholder community, making sure that we're engaging with the aquaculture community to really figure out where we do have gaps in understanding and insight, and where we can continue to improve that USDA front door and to this key sector. As Karen noted, aquaculture is agriculture, and so it's important to us to make sure that those stakeholders in this space understand the opportunities for engagement with the department. So with that, I'll just close by thanking Caird for all his work on this. He and I have worked closely with this for the 18 months, and Jeff and Peggy as well. And I appreciate the work that you guys have done to lead this effort for the department. And I'll leave you with that, Caird.
Mary Dee, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Dr. Scott Hutchins, Deputy Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics. Dr. Hutchins, please go ahead.
Thank you, Caird, for the introduction and the opportunity here to be with you. I'm just guessing, Caird, that probably the favorite superhero in your home is Aquaman. Anyway, this is a great topic because aquaculture truly is agriculture. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. It's really a great pleasure to speak with you all about the work being done to expand aquaculture production and capabilities. USDA is the only department that works to ensure safe, nutritious, and abundant food supply from farm to fork. And with a rapidly growing global population and challenged natural resources, it's really crucial we sharpen our focus on one of the most efficient forms of animal production in agriculture. And that also has minimal impacts on the environment, and that's aquaculture. USDA scientists are committed to conducting the vital work to facilitate the sustainable production of safe and nourishing farm seafood. I had the opportunity to visit our aquaculture researchers in Auburn, Alabama late last year and saw some amazing research. Our work, combined with the great work of universities like Auburn, funded by NIFA and others, is truly making a difference, a big difference. As we develop the scientific capacity to support aquaculture, we must also continue bringing together USDA research and regulatory agencies to identify the new opportunities for collaboration to support the industry and commerce. As with all segments of agriculture, U.S. aquaculture faces many challenges. For example, although the U.S. is a major consumer of seafood, 90% of demand is met by imports, resulting in a $14 billion trade deficit. Additionally, the U.S. currently ranks 17th globally in aquaculture production, with 50% of the imports farmed in other countries not subject to U.S. regulatory standards. So how are we going to adhere to our motto of do right and feed everyone, which we say daily here at USDA? Well, certainly it begins with working across aquaculture research communities where multidisciplinary efforts are necessary. Things such as environmental management, aquatic health, supporting aquaculture broadly, product and consumer marketing, product innovation and technology, and aquaculture production research. These are but just a few of the topics key aquaculture stakeholders address and discuss every day and did with us in a deep dive listening sessions that preceded today's meeting. And in a circular way, crop production also is impactive to broader agriculture, including soy production, which can also benefit from a strong aquaculture economy. So the stakeholders themselves in this effort are expansive. Dr. Peggy Biga of the Office of the Chief Scientist and CARD of the Agriculture Research Service co-hosted these listening sessions and co-led with representatives from agencies across 7 USDA mission areas to help the U.S. aquaculture industry identify what U.S. fish, shellfish, and aquatic plant farmers need from USDA. This is our mission-to-mission mindset, which we believe will further help plan and deliver solutions our partners in those USDA mission areas truly need to fulfill their expected outcomes. And together, with the end in mind and one USDA spirit, we can make a big difference, and this webinar is a key step in that regard. Office of the Chief Scientist, along with 4 other research agencies within the Research, Education, and Economics mission area, developed strategies to conduct, coordinate, and communicate the importance and impact of USDA aquaculture research. This includes improving public perception on the convergence of the sciences, technology, and agriculture when discussing big data, artificial intelligence, remote sensing and precision agriculture, gene editing, and microbiome research, among many others. It truly is an opportunity to bring together new and emerging capabilities. As part of our responsibility at USDA, we recently released the USDA Science Blueprint, which is a roadmap of our science and research priorities for the next 5 years, and we expect beyond. Aquaculture, as you might expect, aligns perfectly within the 5 theme areas outlined in the USDA Science Blueprint: sustainable ag intensification, ag climate adaptation, food and nutrition translation, value-added innovations, and ag policy leadership. And I know Dr. Biga will be covering this in some detail shortly. USDA envisions a globally competitive science and technology-driven sector that meets increasing demands for aquatic products that are affordable and meet high standards for safety, quality, nutrition, and environmental stewardship, while providing new opportunities for profitability and economic growth within the U.S. economy. We have a great group of presenters and facilitators today in this webinar to help guide our discussion of research priorities, knowledge gaps, and alignment within the USDA Science Blueprint. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to help kick off today's session. So it's going to be a terrific webinar with some great outputs that come from that will help steer and direct next steps. So back to you, Karen, and thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Hutchins. And yes, at our household, we are fans of all things aqua. So thank you. So next speaker is Dr. Chavonda Jacobs-Young, our ARS administrator and also the acting chief scientist for USDA. Dr. Jacobs-Young, please go ahead.
Thank you, Karen, and welcome to all of our participants. Like most Americans, I enjoy the availability and abundance of seafood, which is an important part of our diets. However, as Dr. Hutchins outlined, U.S. fisheries and aquaculture currently fall dramatically short of meeting U.S. demands for seafood products, resulting in a significant trade imbalance and reliance on imported wild and farm products. We found that U.S. fisheries are among the best managed in the world. It's clear, however, that meeting domestic demands for seafood products will require significant expansion of aquaculture through responsible farming and the responsible use of natural resources. Expansion will enable the U.S. to better contribute to global food security and increase the availability of healthy foods while creating better economic opportunities for rural and coastal communities. Here in USDA, we commit to ensuring that American agriculture is environmentally sound, economically viable, and consumer-focused. The success of American agriculture is due to the United States' open arms approach to innovation. This plan is outlined in the USDA Ag Innovation Agenda, which serves as a commitment from USDA to the continued success of American farmers, ranchers, producers, and foresters in the face of future challenges. To meet this commitment for aquaculture, USDA provides leadership to ensure that a healthy, competitive, sustainable aquaculture sector is able to produce an abundant, safe, and affordable supply of seafood products. Specifically, the USDA Aquaculture Innovation Program supports economic development to create jobs in rural communities. designs aquaculture production systems that sustainably use aquatic resources. So they support and conduct research, education, and extension activities. They oversee aquatic animal health and provide marketing programs for consumers. 17 USDA agencies have been actively involved in this effort. Many of them hosted listening sessions in preparations for this webinar today. The agencies include the Office of the Chief Scientist, the Agriculture Research Service, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, the National Agricultural Statistics Service, the Economic Research Service, the Food Safety Inspection Service, the Agricultural Marketing Service, the Animal Plant Health Inspection Service, the Food and Nutrition Service, Rural Development, and the Farm Production and Conservation FPAC agencies, including the Natural Resources Conservation Service, Farm Service Agency, and the Risk Management Agency. And USDA values partnerships as we do our part to advance aquaculture in the U.S. To be successful in our mission, we not only form partnerships among USDA agencies, we partner with other federal agencies, state, local, and tribal governments, and the private sector. We absolutely need all hands on deck to face the challenges we face in agriculture, and aquaculture is no exception. We've established, as you've heard, an USDA internal working group on aquaculture to improve customer service and address USDA requirements in the executive order signed this past May on promoting American seafood competitiveness and economic growth. In addition, USDA co-chairs and participates in the NSTC subcommittee on aquaculture and is actively working with other agencies to update the National Aquaculture Development Plan. Listening sessions like those preceding this workshop are critical communications between USDA and the private sector. We very much appreciate everyone's candor and effort in these activities. This workshop provides the U.S. aquaculture industry the opportunity to engage with USDA agencies to name what U.S. fish, shellfish, and aquatic plant farmers need from USDA. This conversation with the aquaculture community will enhance USDA's role in responsible and sustainable expansion of domestic aquaculture. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the time and energy I know it takes to partner, cooperate, and collaborate. I'm looking forward to the outcomes of the workshop and our continued collaborations. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobs-Young, and I'd like to thank you and Dr. Hutchins and Mary Dee for joining us this morning and kicking off our webinar.